Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Geethanjali Ramanayaka. The headlines. The 15th Population and Housing Census commences. The Irrigation Department says that possible minor floods in Attanagalu Oya Nilwala Ganga basins. Medical specialists welcome the appointment of the new NMRA chairman. New building of Divisional Secretariat Division of the Central Kandy Village will be vested with the public. Foreign news, Bolivia serves diplomatic ties with Israel over Gaza war. News in detail. The 15th Population and Housing Census conducted every 10 years commenced at the Presidential Secretariat this morning at the Presidential Secretariat in Colombo. Accordingly, the Presidential Secretariat was listed as the first building to be recorded in this decennial census. A remarkable feature of this year's census is the incorporation of tablet computers alongside traditional printed documents for data collection. This marks the first instance of such technology being employed in a census that has spanned over 150 years. The listing phase, which is currently in progress, will be followed by the enumeration phase in 2024, according to the Department of Census and Statistics. The population and housing census entails a comprehensive tally of all individuals and existing residences within a country over a specific time frame. Due to high rainfall in upper stream areas of the Attanagalu Oya and Nilwala Ganga, the Irrigation Department advises people living in low-lying downriver areas to be vigilant over minor floods. Irrigation Director SLBC Sugeshwara Bandara said, according to reports, high rainfall was received in the catchment areas of the Attanagalu Oya, and those in low-lying areas along Attanagala, Gampaha, Jayala and Vattala are requested to be vigilant, he said. Moreover, those in low-lying areas of the Nilwala Ganga, including Akurasa, Malimbada, Mathura and Tihagada Divisional Secretariat areas, are also requested to be vigilant over minor flood threats, he said. Meanwhile, the water levels of Ginganga, Kaluganga and Kalaniganga recorded a higher level, and if high rainfall continues in the catchment areas of those rivers, there's a high possibility of flood situations, the Irrigation Director added. New building of Divisional Secretariat Division of the Central Kandy Village will be vested with the public. Digital technology facilities will be provided to 22,000 families. Participating in an event held in the Pandulagama, Anuradhapura, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said the ownership of lands will be provided to the people of the area. According to a concept of the President, all houses will be digitalized. State Minister Ranjit Siyamalapitiya says that electronic RAMS programs will be introduced to expedite all activities regarding the tax. Explaining views at a program held in the Ruwanmala area, he stated that a new tax system will be implemented more correctly through this new electronic tax system. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The gap between the state income and expenditure is at a high level from many years. Chartered accountant Dr. Udayashree Karyavasam said that an economic development cannot be achieved without covering this gap. The reason for this has attributed for not receiving the expected income from the agricultural and industrial sectors. He made this remark while participating at the Subharati program of the SLBC today. The Association of Medical Specialists has welcomed the appointment of Dr. Ananda Wijevikrama as the new chairman of the National Medicines Regulatory Authority NMRA, commending the move as a timely decision. In a letter directed to Minister of Health Dr. Ramesh Patirana, the AMS said there is a palpable relief in the medical profession and among the general public that the unfortunate past of this institution has been done away with the appointment of Dr. Wijevikrama as a new NMRA chairman. And that ends local news for now.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Veda Mahatmya.
In the main news story this afternoon, the government has paid attention to establish export model village on king coconut cultivation. Minister Mahinda Amaravira says this program will begin from next year. He stated that there's a high demand for king coconut in the international market. 110 million rupees has been earned from the export of 11 million king coconuts in the year 2022, while 140 million has been earned as an income from the export of 14 million king coconuts this year up to now. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
On to Watchlight this afternoon. Most of the SLTB buses running from Alawa to Galgamur Road is not up to the standard and always breaks in midway. Therefore, school children and the passengers are facing many hardships due to this reason. The residents in the area have requested the relevant authorities to deploy 2 suitable buses to this area. This is for the attention of the superintendent of the Alawa depot, and that came to you in Watchlight. And in world news, Bolivia serves diplomatic ties with Israel over Gaza war. Israeli President Isaac Herzog defends Gaza operation. India opposition says government tried to hack phones. News in detail now. Bolivia has cut diplomatic ties with Israel over what it describes as aggressive and disproportionate military actions in Gaza. Deputy Foreign Minister Freddy Mamani said Bolivia called for a ceasefire and would be supplying the blockaded Gaza Strip with aid. It is the first Latin American country to cut ties with Israel over the war. The presidents of Colombia and Brazil have also both criticized the actions of Israel in Gaza. Colombian President Gustavo Petro called for Israel's ambassador to leave the country before stepping back the comments. Israeli President Isaac Herzog has strongly defended his country's military operations in Gaza. In a BBC interview, he insisted Israel was putting a huge focus on reducing civilian casualties. Asked about UN figures that nearly 70% of more than 8,000 deaths were women and children, he said no one wanted them to pay the price. But he said Israel was fighting a bitter enemy which had carried out shocking atrocities. On the 7th of October, Hamas launched unprecedented attacks on southern Israel, killing more than 1,400 people and taking more than 230 people hostage. Mr. Herzog said Israel had to destroy Hamas infrastructure. Some Indian opposition leaders have accused the government of trying to hack into their phones after receiving warning messages from Apple. Apple's alert said it believed that recipient was being targeted by state-sponsored attackers. It did not specify who the attackers could be. When contacted by the BBC, Apple said that it did not attribute the threat notifications to any specific state-sponsored organization. Federal ministers dismissed the allegations, with one calling it destructive politics. But he added that the government would investigate to get to the bottom of these notifications. And back to the headlines of the world news. Bolivia serves diplomatic ties with Israel over Gaza war. Israeli President Isaac Herzog defends Gaza operation. And India opposition says government tried to hack phones. And that ends world news.
Development news.
The Airport and Aviation Services Sri Lanka Private Limited AASL today welcomed Azur Air as the first direct charter flight between Russia and Sri Lanka. The first flight arrived at the Bandaranaike International Airport this morning with 332 passengers. The flight was welcomed by a celebratory water cannon salute upon the arrival at the airport, and the passengers were warmly welcomed with Sri Lanka Tea Board-sponsored Ceylon tea gift packs, followed by a traditional Kandyan dance performance. And that was Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
Another match of the World Championship Cricket Tournament between New Zealand and South Africa team will be played in Pune today. It is a day and night match. It begins at 2 p.m. India is leading in the points table of the World Championship Cricket Tournament. South Africa is in the second place while New Zealand has secured the third place. And that was sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB I am, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, there's a record increase in the income earned by the customs during the month of October, which is over 109 billion rupees. Director of Customs, Sivali Aruggoda, said that the reason has been attributed to the increase by implementing collecting tax programs efficiently. They expect 925 billion rupees for the entire income this year, and that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB I am, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news. According to a report issued by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the tourist arrivals in the country has shown a considerable increase in the month of September when compared to August. The number of tourist arrivals in the month of September is 111,938. And that was economic news.
Weather report.
Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in most provinces of the island after 2 p.m. Heavy showers, about 100 millimeters, are likely at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa and Uva provinces and in the Galle, Matra, Kandy and Nuwara districts. Showers will occur in eastern, north central and northwestern provinces and in the Matra and Badula district during the morning too. And that was the weather report. Prior to concluding this news broadcast, the headlines once again. The 15th Population and Housing Census commences. The Irrigation Department predicts possible minor floods in the Attanagalu Oya, Nilwala Ganga basins. Medical specialists welcome the appointment of the new NMRA chairman. New building of Divisional Secretariat Division of Central Kandy Village will be vested with the public. And in foreign news, Bolivia seals diplomatic ties with Israel over Gaza war. And with that, we end this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.